Hi everyone, today I'm talking to you about a very famous pocket pen that has been around for a very long time, and that is the Kaweco Sport. I have several of these and I always love using them at work because they're so convenient and you can just pop them in your pocket and take them along. And they're always good writers. So the Sport has been around since 1913. They of course looked a little different in the past. I have a vintage Sport that I will show you in a little bit. But it has been a staple for Kaweco for a very long time. In the past, Kaweco has been not trashed for, but people have commented on the fact that the nibs have been a little iffy, but they've changed nib suppliers and the nibs nowadays are really, really reliable. So the old nibs from the old supplier had baby's bottom very often, or they were scratchy, but their new supplier doesn't seem to have those issues. I've had one Kaweco nib that wasn't great. The other ones were all fine. So I think don't hesitate to buy Kaweco because of that issue floating around, or information about that issue floating around. Anyway, enough rambling. I think we need to take up a closer look at
here we have my Kaweco Sports. You see, I have three different types. I have an ice sport, one of the regular collection, which is, this is the Bordeaux or the Burgundy, I believe. And this is the AL Sport in rose gold. It looks very gold on camera, but it is definitely the rose gold. And then in this pouch, I have the vintage Sport. It came with a ballpoint pen that, of course, will basically never be used. But it was a cute set that I bought online. And this Sport is, if you can believe it, even smaller than the modern Sport. However, it is a piston filler. So the other Sports can be filled with a cartridge. There are converters for it, or you can eyedropper it. I will eyedropper this one in a little bit so you can see how that works. But the vintage Kaweco is actually a piston filler. The nib of the old Kaweco also looks different. It is a semi-hooded nib. Now, I don't actually know whether this is a gold nib or not. I do believe so. The marking is slightly under the hood of the nib, so it's hard to actually see whether it's gold, but I believe it is. It has that nice blue ink window, and yes, this is the piston knob that twists up. As you can see, there's the seal or the cork. You can ink it like that. This is a very dry nibbed pen. I don't keep it inked up very often, but it is a lovely, lovely pen to have. And it's so cute. It is absolutely tiny and a piston filler. I hope that Kaweco one day will bring back the piston filler Sport, because I think a lot of people would actually buy one. A pocket pen and a piston filler, that would be amazing. Anyway, let's go to inking the ice Sport. I'm going to eyedropper it and I will show you how I do that. All right. Okay, I'm going to ink this pen. Not familiar with eyedropping or eyedroppering. You fill the barrel with ink, basically. This is a barrel that has no holes in it, so you can easily fill it with ink. There's also no metal parts that will corrode, so it's fairly easy to eyedropper a Sport. And with the clear Sports, it's nice because you can see the ink level in the barrel. First things I'm going to do is put some silicone grease on a cotton swab. It's really hard to do this while looking at the camera and also trying to get it on there. So there's a little bit of silicone grease on the cotton swab. Sorry about my dog, guys. She demands attention. And then I'm just gonna swab it around on the threads so no ink will escape through there. Of course, you can use additional measures like an O-ring. However, I'm gonna add a little more. However, I've never found that that is actually necessary. I've had this eyedropper before, and it was completely fine with just grease. Okay, so that is greased. I bought my silicone grease at the hardware store. I know that pen places also sell silicone grease, but I found that it is cheaper at the hardware store and you get a lot of it. Make sure you get silicone grease with just one ingredient, namely silicone grease. I'm gonna ink this with Krishna Anoki. Not sure if I pronounced that right. This is a purple ink and it is a dry ink, but because I'm eyedroppering it, I hope that it will behave slightly better. As in, there's a lot of ink going into the feed. And I hope that will help. This nib, I know this nib is fairly wet, so it shouldn't be a problem. Paper towel, of course. My experience with all the Krishna inks is that they are dry. Anyway, here we have the barrel. I have a pipette, which is what you need, or a syringe. You can also use a syringe. Squeeze the pipette, fill it up with ink, stick it in there in the barrel, and then just squeeze. A lot of ink goes into this barrel. If you use the converter, which is also fine, I have a few of them, the ink capacity is fairly low. So if you want a big ink capacity, either find a vintage sport, or eyedropper one. Okay, now I hope there's enough silicone grease on there, but I will surely find out if there's not. Guys, this dog, let me show you what she's doing. She just wants attention. Evie, ga je zitten? Goed zo. What a derp. Okay, let's go do a writing sample. I'll be right back. Okay, here we are with a fully eyedroppered Kaweco Sport. Now, most people will have to really post this pen. However, because I have small hands, I don't have to, but it does feel better when it's posted. So when you put the cap on the back of the pen, it becomes a really decently sized pen. Actually quite big for me, but it does not become unbalanced. This pen was, of course, made to be posted, so there's really no problem in doing so. So don't hesitate to buy this. If you think it's too small, it's probably not when you post it. Anyway, let's go on to the writing sample. I hope the feed is fully saturated. It is. It's always a question when you eyedropper a pen, because when you fill it with a converter, ink goes through the feed already, so you know it's saturated. It's a medium nib, Krishna Anoki is the ink. It is a dry purple ink, but in this eyedropper, it feels fairly wet because the nib is wet. This pen is not flexy at all, not flexy. However, I don't think if you're looking for a pocket pen, you're looking for flex. So it's completely fine to me that it is stiff. It's basically a nail. Lovely writer, and very good for long writing sessions. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this overview of my Kaweco Sports. If you have any questions about any of them, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.